When the massive black bear appeared on Aiden Brody's porch at dawn with a dying cub in her mouth, the former journalist thought he was hallucinating. But when she gently laid the lifeless baby at his feet and looked at him with tears streaming down her face, he realized this desperate mother had chosen him for an impossible mission. What happened during the emergency resuscitation would leave him questioning everything he thought he knew about trust between species. Before you watch, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss another touching story like this one, and write in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Aiden Brody opened the door of his isolated cabin in the Adirondack Mountains at 6 a.m, coffee cup in hand, expecting nothing but forest air and the smell of pine. Instead, he froze. A massive black bear stood just feet away on his porch, tears streaming down her face. And in her mouth, held with impossible gentleness, was a small cub. Its legs hung limp, its head tilted to one side. It looked dead. Aiden's hand instinctively reached for the door, ready to slam it shut and grab the rifle hanging in his kitchen. But something about the way the mother bear stood there, trembling, crying actual tears, looking at him with desperate eyes, stopped him cold. This wasn't an attack. This was a plea. Then she did something that made Aiden's heart stop. She took 2 slow, careful steps forward and gently laid the cub on the wooden porch floor directly at his feet. Then she backed up, sat down on her haunches, and stared at him without blinking. Waiting, begging for help in the only way she knew how. Against every survival instinct screaming in his head, Aiden slowly knelt beside the motionless cub. He was tiny, couldn't have weighed more than 12 pounds, with ribs showing through his sparse fur and dried blood crusted around one ear. One back leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. When Aiden carefully pressed 2 fingers to the small chest, searching for a heartbeat, there was nothing at first. The body was ice cold, limp. Then, the faintest movement, the tiniest rise and fall of the narrow chest. So shallow, Aiden had to hold his own breath to detect it, but it was there. "He's alive," Aiden whispered, looking up at the mother bear. "Barely, but he's still alive." The bear made no sound. She just watched with those wet, impossibly expressive eyes, waiting for him to do something. Aiden had left his journalism career in New York City 6 months ago, seeking isolation in this remote cabin. He'd never imagined facing a moment like this, a wild mother trusting him with her dying baby. "Okay," Aiden said, his voice shaking. "I'll try. I don't know what I'm doing, but I promise I'll try." He carefully wrapped the cub in his flannel shirt, cradling the tiny body against his chest, and backed slowly toward the door. He expected the mother bear to lunge at any moment, to roar and attack, but she stayed perfectly still, like she somehow understood what he was trying to do. Inside, Aiden laid the cub on his couch and looked around frantically. What was he supposed to do? He wasn't a veterinarian. He had no medical training beyond basic first aid. But this tiny creature was dying right in front of him, and for some inexplicable reason, his mother had chosen to trust him. The little body was freezing to the touch, his breathing so shallow it was barely visible. When Aiden looked more closely at the wounds, he found deep puncture marks around the cub's neck and shoulders. Bite wounds from another bear, probably an adult male. One wound looked badly infected, the skin around it hot and swollen despite the cub's overall hypothermia. The broken leg was bent at a sickening angle. Through the window, Aiden could see the mother bear. She'd moved closer to the house, just beyond the porch steps, but she wasn't approaching the door. She was sitting again, completely motionless, her eyes fixed on the house where her cub had disappeared. Aiden grabbed towels from the bathroom, his old electric heating pad from a closet, bottles of water from the kitchen. Anything he could think of. His hands were shaking badly. He wrapped the cub tightly in towels and turned the heating pad to maximum, positioning the small body on top of it. The cub's temperature had to be critically low, probably in the low 80s, maybe even lower. If he didn't warm up fast, his organs would shut down. He checked the cub's mouth. The gums were pale, nearly white, a sign of severe shock. The tiny chest moved irregularly, each breath accompanied by a soft rattling sound. He grabbed his phone and called Rachel Kowalski, the only veterinarian within 50 miles. "Rachel, I need help desperately. I have a bear cub. He's dying. His mother brought him to my porch." Long pause. "Aiden, are you serious?" "Yes. He's barely breathing, ice cold, bite wounds, broken leg. What do I do?" "Warm him up immediately. Make honey water, 1 part honey, 3 parts warm water. Give it drop by drop. I'll call Ginny from Wildlife Rehab. We'll be there in 2 hours. Keep him alive until then." Aiden mixed honey with warm water and found a turkey baster. He carefully opened the cub's mouth and squeezed the drops onto the pale tongue. Nothing. No response. "Come on, your mom is waiting." On the third attempt, the tiny tongue twitched, a small swallow. "Yes, that's it." For the next hour, Aiden sat giving the cub honey water drop by drop. The heating pad made the room unbearably hot, but the cub needed it. Through the window, the mother bear never moved, watching with impossible patience. Gradually, the cub's breathing became slightly stronger. When Aiden touched him, his skin felt marginally warmer. But then Aiden noticed the cub's front paw, swollen to nearly twice its normal size, oozing pus. The infection was severe. If it reached his bloodstream, nothing else would matter. He cleaned the wound with hydrogen peroxide. The cub flinched, the first real movement Aiden had seen. Pain meant his nervous system still worked. By the time Rachel and Ginny arrived at 10 o'clock, the cub's temperature had risen to 89 degrees, still dangerously low but better. The mother bear watched carefully but didn't attack. Ginny, a woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes, immediately examined the cub. "This is a bite from an adult male bear. Males kill cubs to bring females back into estrus. His mother fought him off and brought him to you because she knew he wouldn't survive in the wild with these injuries." "Can you save him?" Aiden asked. "Maybe, but we need to work fast." Rachel opened her medical bag. "We need to get an IV line in. He's severely dehydrated, and that infection needs antibiotics immediately. Aiden, hold him still. This is going to be difficult." Aiden carefully held the small body while Rachel searched for a vein. Her first attempt failed. The needle went through the collapsed vessel. The cub whimpered, and outside the mother bear stood up, alert. "It's okay, Mama," Aiden called out. "We're helping him." Rachel's second attempt succeeded. The IV line went in, secured with tape. There. For 20 minutes, they worked with focused intensity. Ginny cleaned the infected wound, removing dead tissue. Rachel started IV fluids and prepared antibiotic injections. They splinted the broken leg. The cub lay mostly still, too weak to fight, but occasionally he whimpered, and each time the mother bear grew more agitated outside. Then Ginny's expression changed. "His heart rate is dropping. It's down to 45 beats per minute. That's critical." Rachel checked with her stethoscope. 40 now, he's crashing." "What does that mean?" Aiden asked. "It means we're losing him," Ginny said. She positioned her hands on the tiny chest. "I'm starting compressions. Rachel, get the epinephrine." Ginny began pressing on the cub's chest with 2 fingers, gentle but firm, carefully timed. Each compression was precise, measured. She counted under her breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rachel injected epinephrine into the IV line. Nothing happened. "Come on, little guy," Ginny said, never stopping the compressions. "Your mama didn't bring you here to give up." 15 seconds, 20, 30. Aiden stared at the cub's tiny face, willing him to breathe. Through the window, the mother bear had moved to the porch steps, sensing something was wrong. She was standing now, her massive body tense, her eyes fixed on the house. 45 seconds, 50. "Ginny," Rachel started, her voice tight. "Not yet," Ginny said firmly. "Keep monitoring. I'm not stopping." 1 minute. The mother bear took another step closer to the door. Aiden could hear her breathing, heavy, anxious. She made a low sound, something between a moan and a growl. She knew. Somehow she knew her baby was slipping. Away. 1 minute. 15 seconds. "Heart rate is still 0, Rachel reported, her voice breaking. "No electrical activity." "I know," Ginny said, sweat beading on her forehead from the effort and tension. "But I've seen this before. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they just need more time." 1 minute, 30 seconds. Aiden felt tears burning his eyes. They'd come so close. The cub had been fighting so hard, it wasn't fair. 1 minute, 45 seconds. "Ginny, maybe we should," Rachel began. "No," Ginny said firmly. 2 minutes. Give him 2 minutes. Outside, the mother bear pressed against the door, making sounds Aiden had never heard before. Desperate, pleading sounds that cut straight to his heart. 1 minute, 50 seconds. Then, the cub's body jerked. Just slightly, but unmistakably. "Wait," Rachel said, pressing her stethoscope to the tiny chest. "I've got something. It's faint, but yes, there's a heartbeat." The cub took a sudden, gasping breath that sounded like a drowning person breaking the surface. Then another. His chest began rising and falling more regularly, though still far too slowly. "Heart rate's coming back," Rachel reported, her voice shaking with relief and disbelief. 40, 50, 60, 70, 75. Oh my God, it's still climbing. Ginny sat back, exhaling hard. Her hands were trembling. Sweat dripped from her forehead. That was too damn close. I've never seen a cub come back after that long. "His temperature's rising too," Rachel said, checking the thermometer. 91 degrees now. The adrenaline and compressions got his system going again. Aiden realized he'd been holding his breath. He let it out in a shaky exhale, tears streaming down his face that he didn't bother to hide. Outside, the mother bear had backed away from the door slightly, and though Aiden couldn't be sure, it seemed like she'd heard the change, sensed that something had shifted. An hour later, his vitals had stabilized. "Keep him warm, give him antibiotics every 8 hours, and call if anything changes," Ginny said. "But Aiden, once he's stable, you have to return him to the wild." Over the next 2 weeks, the cub, whom Aiden had named Baxter, recovered remarkably. His wounds healed, his appetite returned, and he began exploring the cabin with growing confidence and curiosity. He played with an old tennis ball, followed Aiden everywhere, and at night slept curled up in his nest of blankets. The mother bear visited every day, sometimes close, sometimes at a distance, but always watching. Then Deputy Louise Gentry's patrol car pulled up the dirt road, and she wasn't alone. A man in a Wildlife Services uniform got out with her. Officer Frank Morrison, carrying a large transport cage. "Aiden," Louise said as they approached the porch, "this is Officer Morrison from Wildlife Services. We're here to collect the bear cub." "Collect him?" Aiden felt his chest tighten. "He just recovered. That's not for you to decide, Mr. Brody," Morrison interrupted. "Wild animals don't belong in private residences. We have a facility for rehabilitation." His mother has been coming here every day. She's waiting for him. Morrison's expression hardened. You can hand over the cub voluntarily, or I can return with a warrant and law enforcement. You'll be charged with illegal possession of wildlife. Your choice. Aiden glanced toward the forest. The mother bear was there in the shadows, watching. She could sense the strangers, their intention to take her cub. What if I release him myself? Today, back to his mother, doesn't that satisfy Wildlife Services? Morrison and Louise exchanged glances. If the cub is already back in the wild, Louise said slowly. You have until tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Morrison said firmly. If we return and find that cub still here, I'm filing charges. That night, Aiden made his decision. In the morning, he placed Baxter in a carrier and drove deep into the forest to a clearing surrounded by spruce trees. When he opened the carrier, Baxter stepped out cautiously, sniffing the wild air, taking in the forest sounds he'd never heard in the cabin. Branches cracked. The mother bear emerged from the tree line, watching carefully. Baxter stood frozen between them, the human who had saved his life and the mother who'd never stopped waiting. The mother bear made a soft sound, and Baxter turned toward her. He took a few steps, stopped, then ran back to Aiden one last time, pressing against his legs. Go live your life, little brave one, Aiden whispered, stroking his fur. You'll be okay. He gently pushed Baxter toward his mother, and this time the cub didn't hesitate. He ran to her, and she immediately began sniffing him all over, checking every inch, making sure he was really there, really alive. Then the mother bear lifted her massive head and looked directly at Aiden. For a long moment they held eye contact. Then, with what seemed like a deliberate gesture, she dipped her head once, a nod of acknowledgement of thanks, before turning and leading Baxter into the forest. Weeks later, Aiden found wild berries carefully arranged on his porch. He smiled, knowing that somewhere in those woods, a bear cub who'd once slept on his couch was living the wild, free life he was meant to have. Did you enjoy this story? If a wild bear brought her dying cub to your door, would you have risked everything to try and save it? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.